Hey now, and welcome to episode 39 of the Help Find the Others podcast. If you've been with us all along, welcome back. But if this is your first time listening to us, well then welcome. I'm your host, Ruben. And as always, my main man, Stan, is on the line. How you doing there, man?
Doing good, buddy.
Awesome. So, Stan and I, we're trying to come up with ideas and be ever growing with this podcast and channel.
Nope.
And, if you follow our Discord and several of our episodes, you know that we're into cryptocurrency in the world of cryptocurrency. And we decided that while unfortunately a lot of things we talk about in a crypto podcast don't age well, we wanted to kind of do a monthly kind of wrap up maybe of the markets or advancements in tech, and just stuff like that, and just kind of keep up to date on it. So I don't know. Let's we're gonna record this episode and call it I guess CryptoCast episode 1 or whatever. It'll have a separate playlist on YouTube. And we want to hear from you guys. Like, do you like the idea? Do you like this episode? Do you have any suggestions? Do you want to come on as a guest and talk specifically crypto? So anyone that enjoys this episode, give us a shout out at helpfindtheothers@protonmail.com. I figured, I don't know. Stan's going to try and keep me from jumping ahead and ranting too much because we do need to start at the beginning, right, Stan?
Yeah, I do believe so. And I do think even before we start the beginning, the importance of why we're doing this is to pass on the word of hope and financial freedom or the idea at least of financial freedom for a lot of people's futures and getting in on something that's potentially on the ground floor. I mean, we both think it's on the ground floor, so we're just trying to do our best to pass on what we think is a good idea, basically. And we hope that it resonates with our listeners.
Yeah. And, like you're talking about financial freedom, before we even talk about crypto, I do feel while none of my crypto advice is financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. A lot of people may take my rants about crypto as financial advice. So I did want to start out the CryptoCast with giving a little background, my financial background, and what led me into believing in an alternative economy that I believe cryptocurrency represents and will become in the future. Just as a disclaimer for anyone that was thinking, hey, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, I should listen to him. If I tell you my story, you may be like, well, maybe I shouldn't listen to him. And just, for the sake of explaining a little bit more of why I'm into cryptocurrency. So my entire life have been a free thinker, a free I believe in freedom of everything. I've tried not to be too judgmental and think outside the box and all this stuff. But one area of my life where I've not had freedom is financially. And whether it was, living off my family, I stayed in my parents' basement longer than my brother and sister did. Until I dropped out of college, they paid my rent and food and room and board or whatever, all of that stuff, where I wasn't financially free. I wasn't struggling, but that's not what I consider, financial freedom or not having financial freedom can be on either ends of the wealth spectrum. I would say, you can have a lot of money, but be really in debt to that money and to that wealth. So I went from that situation to being completely, dropping out of college and being a loser and being cut off and not really having learned how to earn or save money because I never had to, and then spent most of my 20s being broke as fuck, spending every paycheck on stuff I shouldn't immediately when I got it, working shitty jobs, quitting them, stealing from my employer, just like stupid shit out of the name of being broke and really not knowing how to handle money. And then because I'm a nice, friendly person, people like me, and I was just the ultimate mooch, like people liked partying with me, so they provided the drugs and the booze, and I provided the good times, and it was a good relationship. And then as people moved into getting careers and graduating college, and whatever, then it moved from hey, can I sleep on your couch? So I, once I couldn't afford apartments and stuff like that, was a mooch of places to live. And then when I got sick of that was when the first year of college, like I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this, where they're handing out those credit cards, right? And I sign up and get one of those things and max it out. I remember specifically buying like a QP of some shitty brickweed with one of those like cash advance checks that they mail every month for your credit cards. And like the weed dealer being like, I don't know if I could take this. And I'm like, you can't bounce a credit card check. He's like, yeah, I guess you're right, or whatever. So yeah, just like stupid financial stuff like that. Leading to the point, so what are you, 18, 19 when you get your first credit card like that? And I don't even know when it was, but I mean, I hung on making minimum payments to a maxed out card to a point where I ended up not making payments and going into collections. And this was prior to like they passed some law to where they can't harass you, right? And they made it so that like they would call in the middle of the night and just call you a loser and like swear at you and just like terrible stuff.
What?
Yeah. And at the period of this time, or this time period, I was like living in my friend's parents' basement and he lived there still. And then we, like, our band played at their house, and like I just lived in our jam room, which was their finished basement. And I didn't have a cell phone. I couldn't afford a cell phone. So like the credit card company had like his parents' house number like, as my number, and would like call in the middle of the night and harass everyone. Damn. And call me a loser and all this stuff. So at the same time that's going on, I also fell, and I know this sounds stupid, but this was prior to it like being a big thing. I fell for like a Nigerian scam. Not the Prince thing, or like I'm a lawyer and there's this account with your prior to Craigslist or a lot of internet stuff, like if you wanted to sell something, you had to put an ad in the paper, and Nigerians would answer those ads and do the whole fucking, I'll send you a cashier's check and then forward the rest on to this shipping company and whatever. And, I didn't know that was a scam at the time. Nobody really did. It was when they were starting to do it. And I was selling a drum set and I had no money. All I had was this drum set. I don't remember if I was trying to sell it to give money to the credit card company or whatever. But I got this check and it seemed very shady. And then I was like, why the fuck does this guy in Nigeria want my stupid drum set? And I mean, it was a nice drum set, but still, like, I was like, it's going to cost so much to ship there. This is stupid, but whatever. And they wanted you to go to a cash check or check cashing place and like cash it right away and send the money Western Union. And I was like, nah, I'm going to deposit it in my bank. Right. And so I did that. And like a couple weeks later, or a week later or something, I was going to buy I remember specifically when this happened because I was going to buy a sandwich at a deli with my debit card and it was declined and they had already made the sandwich. And I was like, I don't have any money, man. I'm sorry. And like, they were like, well, what about the sandwich? But whatever. And so I went to the bank and to check my balance at the ATM and it ate my card and told me to come inside. So I did. And they were like, well, yeah, it seems your account is negative $2,500. And I only had like $100 in there at the time. And this check that I deposited was $2,600. And I was like, well, I deposited a check. They're like, oh, yeah, it looks like that was a bad check. And I was like, okay, then how do I owe you $2,000? Like, I didn't get any money. I just deposited it. And they're like, well, it was a bad check. And I was like, right, but I didn't get any money. Like, you didn't give me any money. Just take I gave you a piece of paper with some numbers on it. And you type something into a computer and it didn't like it. Like, there wasn't any money exchange. And they were like, well, yeah, I don't know. You got to, if it was a bad check and someone did that, you got to go to the police and then we'll take the charge off. So I remember, I probably just went home and got drunk that night or something, but like, I only had $100 in the world and now the bank decided that was theirs and they wanted more money. I guess I still had the drum set, but then I was still also, maxed out credit cards with collection people calling. Mm-hmm. And I just remember having this moment of like, this whole system is fucked. Like the fucking bank's fucked. The fucking credit card companies are fucked. Like, this is all fucked. Like, I didn't do anything to anyone here, and like, now I have absolutely nothing. And in a way, that was at the time where I felt the most financially free looking back, because I was once the collection company stopped calling and realized I wasn't going to pay, then I just got an R9 on my credit, which is like refusal to pay, which is worse than bankruptcy. It's like just saying, yeah, fuck off, and saying I'm not paying it back, and it's unsecured debt. So they really can't do anything about it. It's not worth going after. So, and with the bank, I just said, well, fuck you. And I just walked away from the bank too. So like for a couple years, I was unbanked, and didn't have credit. And I worked at like fast food restaurants or some shit, I didn't make good money, but like it felt like it was all mine for some reason. Like, looking back, like that, which is crazy. I also had no responsibility. So like, I didn't need that much money anyway. I lived in people's couches, but, that's just kind of, there was like a moment there where I was actually free. Fast forward to growing up, trying to build a home and family, going back to school, I still didn't have a lot of money. And, I just got back into the credit card world because you kind of needed it. But then at that point, there was this part of me that was like, how bullshit is it that I racked up a credit card, told them to fuck off, and all you got to do is wait a few years, and they're like, here's another chance, and so like that even further instilled in me that like, wow, this credit card stuff is shitty, and it's obviously predatory because they're going after me because they know I'm not going to pay it again, and they're going to get all these fees and all that, and I'm going to rack up a annual percentage rate fees on, and like, they don't care if I pay it back or not, because I obviously strung them along long enough for them to make money off of it. They made more money off of me than what I owed. And credit companies see your credit history and know that's probably going to happen again. Old habits die hard, So, I just kind of played that game, until, I quit my job to be a stay-at-home dad. And that forced me to like become more financially aware of like, what I'm spending, what's coming, but like budgeting and stuff like that. And it took me quite a while. It took, several years of being a dad to get to that point. But to go back to when I was out of the banking and credit world, that planted the seeds of me to start thinking about alternative economies, and alternative systems that could work for people when it comes to money. Because as much as we want to like say money's bullshit, I wish we could live without money, like there is something inherent about money that's like a universal energy. Value is something. And I think that's one reason so many people don't like people on welfare or socialism and stuff like that, is because, like we do have a feeling inside of us as humans of like working for something. Like you need to work for what you get. In our system that has become money, but I think like you could never replace that energy. You can never replace that thing. And so like I often would have and do have a lot of thoughts like that, which is probably, if you've ever watched like, some of my other videos or some of our episodes where I've talked about my initial, like I had heard of Bitcoin, but my initial like light bulb moment for Bitcoin was, on a mushroom trip, and I was sitting there thinking about money, and it like just spoke to me and said Bitcoin. And so it wasn't out of the blue that I was sitting there thinking about money and finances and global economies and trade and value and all these things. Like these are common societal themes that I ponder, in a psychedelic or meditative state. And so, yeah, that's kind of just for everyone that, that was probably a little long, but that's kind of, I'm not a financial genius. Most of what I understand about finances, I really just owe to crypto anyway, because I've been paying attention to it for so long, and there's so much crossover from like stock and bond worlds and other assets, and crypto is just another thing, another pillar that's growing in that world. But until crypto, I didn't know anything about that. So long story short, I'm definitely not a financial advisor, but I think it's entirely possible that a lot of people resonate with my story there and what I have to say about crypto.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody goes through, financial struggles for sure. And for me, the biggest story, I guess, that I came across that made me question things a little bit was just like finding out, and I know this happened a long time ago, but just finding out when I was probably in my late teenage years, that there's no backing to our dollar and it's just based strictly off of trust. And that it used to be backed by gold, it used to be backed by the Federal Reserve, and now it's just not backed by anything, and it's just government trust. And the government can print as much as they want whenever they want. That to me was the biggest eye opener that kind of snowballed down this road that we are now on with crypto and just getting smarter with finances. And like you said, once you kind of get into the crypto realm, I do feel you try to, if you do it I guess in the educated way of trying to understand it before just throwing your money at it, which a ton of people didn't do that when it was on the big rise a couple of years ago. If you do it that way, you kind of are forced to educate yourself on just economics as a whole. And that just brings about good results as well. But yeah, for me, it was just realizing that nothing backs the paper dollar.
Yeah. And I forgot the statistic, but there's over half of all Americans actually think that the dollar's still backed by gold.
Oh no.
Yeah. I forgot where I saw that, but, and 99% of statistics are made up on the spot. So that probably falls into it. But, it's like everyone was always like, then what's all the gold in Fort Knox, right? And it's like, well, that ain't for you, like that's like the government like saving value for when everything goes to shit. Like that's not what is backing our money. Our money is backed by the Federal Reserve, and so. And maybe we're getting too lost in the weeds here, but I think we can tie this into the start, to advice for crypto newbies, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say the first bit of advice for anyone who's like, I'm kind of starting to read about this crypto stuff, right? Is you have to read the negative stuff about it, but you have to evaluate who's saying it and why they're saying it, and if it matters that they're saying it at all. And one of the biggest things, and we've talked about it before, Peter Schiff, and he always talks about this, is that he's like, Bitcoin's not backed by anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a digital file. It's just digital code. And so, my first bit of advice is to not look at his stature as a, economic talking head on TV and be like,
yeah, I was going to say, just to clarify to people, who is Peter Schiff?
Oh yeah, so like they'll bring him on MSNBC, and he predicted the stock market crash in 2008, like almost to the day, I think, or something. I'm not real sure, but like ever since then, like he's the doom and gloom guy that they bring on TV to talk about what's going wrong in the economy. Well, so he says that about Bitcoin. The guy also runs a company that sells gold. You can buy like digital stocks or claims to gold that is kept somewhere in Toronto and whatever. Like it's just as shady as anything else that people say about crypto. So it's like you have to look at that like, okay, so Bitcoin is a competitor in ways to people that would want to invest and hold gold or, shares of gold. So it makes sense for a guy who owns a company that does that to talk shit about his competitors. I think you also have to look at, and I know people don't like getting into generational warfare like we've talked about before, but he's also a baby boomer who was just on Twitter the other day saying like, see, Bitcoin's bullshit because I forgot my password. I don't know. Did you catch that? Did you catch Peter Schiff's?
No, I didn't.
You should go back and look at his Twitter. He posted like a screenshot because he couldn't log into his Bitcoin wallet, and was like, see, Bitcoin's shitty. Like now it's gone forever and there's nothing I can do about it. And, he's just gotten a lot of shit, rightfully so, of like, yeah, you forgot your password, dude. Like, that is one thing. And that's probably the second thing that I would recommend to anyone getting into crypto is before you even get started, tighten up your internet security. Like, use weird passwords and, secure password apps and stuff like that you have to pay for that aren't going to sell your passwords and stuff like that. Like that is key to the whole crypto world, is understanding internet security. Because that's what crypto is all about in the first place. And so, not to pick on Peter Schiff too much, but like he's explained, he is perfectly exemplified like what's wrong with most people that hate on crypto. Is like they don't understand it. They're too old to understand it. And they have other skin in other games that they don't want this to disrupt. And so he's just a pessimist anyway, like his whole reason for gold is that much like I do too, but is because he thinks that the United States economy is going to go down and that gold will be the savior and we'll go back to a gold standard and stuff like that. To where crypto people believe that the system's going to go down, but that we are going to move into something new, and that is going to be Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So, those, before you even start an account, those are two things, is like research crypto, not just the good stuff. Don't just listen to the good stuff. Listen and analyze the bad stuff, and then really start paying attention to your internet security and your online identity and, all the breadcrumbs we leave all over the place all the time that are being saved on the internet forever. Crypto and the utopian dream of crypto is moving away from all that stuff and giving us our privacy back in a world that is always losing privacy.
Yeah. And then I guess once you start educating yourself on the subject, what would you say is the next step? What would come next? Would it come finding a wallet that works for you, or would it be
Um,
purchasing the actual currency?
so there is a pretty big wall between the fiat world, which is the government-backed money, the money that is um, unilaterally accepted as payment for debt. If there was no debt, there would be no dollar. The fact that governments can pay back their debt and banks can pay back their debt and consumers can pay back their debt solely in fiat and the dollar that is produced at whatever rate they want to and destroyed at whatever rate they want to by the Federal Reserve, which is a non-government entity. Everyone kind of seems to think because like the president and is involved and they control our money that the Federal Reserve is a government agency, but it is not. It is it started as a coalition of bankers that created this, kind of took over the economy. Well, there's a pretty big wall between that world and the crypto world. And there's only a couple, we call them on ramps or fiat portals or whatever. Like there's only, especially, and I'm talking to Americans, but this is true for any country. In order to turn your banking dollars into crypto dollars or vice versa, there's only a couple avenues. In the United States, the number one is Coinbase. There's Kraken and Gemini, Abra, Square, Uphold, I think is one. I might be missing one, and maybe we'll try to figure that out and put links in the description. But there's only a handful that play nice with the banks, and what I mean by that is in order to have an account and trade dollars in and out of these, you have to go through what is called KYC, which is a set of banking regulations, and the KYC stands for Know Your Customer. And this is identity verification. Often to get an account with one of these, you have to take a picture of yourself holding your ID, like your driver's license. You have to, I think Gemini, you have to write the day's date that you're applying for the account on a bill that is addressed to your house and have your ID next to it. It's just verifying who you are and where you live.
Same thing that's being done when you go and open a bank account, just in person.
Yeah, or a credit account or anything like that. The crypto people don't like that because, we want privacy, but if you want to make dollars off of your crypto, it's going to become increasingly harder to do that. So after you've researched and you're like, okay, I want to invest in crypto, I want to trade crypto, I want to be involved in crypto, whatever your goals are, my advice is to get an account and verify yourself at every single one of those accounts. I can't really say one's better than the other. And if I did, that would just be my opinion. I have no reason to think why anyone would be better than another. Some of them have better apps. Some of them have different fee structures. Some of them have different coins they offer. But regardless, I want to be able to buy crypto whenever and sell crypto whenever. And I don't want a situation like one website goes down because of, a crypto run or a crypto panic sell or whatever.
Or government intervention.
Or a government intervention. They shut them down. Yeah. Whatever that may be. I want to have another avenue if I can. And so I try to keep a current account with all of those ones I mentioned. And if I missed any, it's probably because I don't have an account, and I will soon, I like to just have all that open. And this takes some time. It could take 2 or 3 weeks to get verified. So that's like something that new crypto people need to understand is like, getting set up and verified like takes a while, and do it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can also, I got a Coinbase account before they did a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't believe I had to take a picture with my ID. So like once you're in, you're also like grandfathered into any more regulation that might be coming. So even if you're not ready to buy, even if you don't have money to buy, like that's, if you're thinking at any point you might buy crypto, you need to verify and get accounts with all of these. And on top of that, like going back to what I said about internet security, you need to make sure that you use two-factor authentication and you use a different password for each account. And, you don't save that on a Word file on your desktop of your computer. You need to really, that's where I was getting at. I guess I got ahead of myself talking about internet security, but this is where it's important, because there's one thing to get your crypto wallet hacked and your $100 of Bitcoin stolen. There's another thing to have your routing number and, whatever, like bank account information stolen from a website, because they were trying to hack your crypto, and then we're like, oh, I got his bank account too, and so if there's any sort of financial websites that you could have an account on and a password and username that are likely to be targeted by the best of the best black hat hackers there are, it's going to be these crypto websites. And so, if you ever hear, when you're researching the negative stuff about crypto and you hear about exchange hacks and stuff like that, that's what they did. They hacked the account. They didn't hack Bitcoin. They didn't hack Ether. They didn't hack the actual networks. They hacked these websites and stole information, which happens all the time. It happened to fucking Target and Visa and MasterCard and Bank of America. All these websites get hacked, and these crypto exchanges and crypto brokers are no different. So that's why, I really urge people, and it's one thing I did not take seriously until I got invested in crypto and started paying attention to it, was internet security. And so when you are starting an account, that is the best time to start with your proper internet security protocols.
So that kind of goes along with self-education too. That's not, that figuring out internet security, I don't know. It's weird because it's like second nature to, I would like to say, my generation, or at least people probably 30 and below. But, when I'm at home and my mom's has to like take out a piece of paper with all of her passwords written down, or open up, like you said, a file with all the passwords written down, it's crucially important, because things can be gone in the blink of an eye. So once you got the internet security down, and once you have yourself verified on one of these exchanges, what's the next move at that point?
So the next move is to buy Bitcoin.
And is that like,
we can get into
that like, debit card to Bitcoin? Is that a wire transfer? How does that look?
Yeah. So if your bank or your state will allow you, you want to do a wire transfer, or an ACH. There are certain some of those websites will accept debit cards. Some will accept credit card. I don't recommend that. Unless you want to just max out your credit card to buy Bitcoin and say, fuck you, and leave the banks and the credit card companies in the dust. I respect that heroic act, but I don't know if that's the best financial advice. But you're going to have more fees if you use a debit card, but you will get the crypto right away. So that's a little different. If you're looking to buy something on the dark web, or if you're looking to trade real quick because there's a good price on an altcoin you want to get or whatever, debit cards will get you the crypto right away. The transfers can take, a week. I think Coinbase is 10 days actually. Mm-hmm. But there's less fees if you're worried about that. So if you can, set that up, get that ready to go. You want to get to the point where you're as one click away from getting crypto at a good price, if it's a good day to buy, or whatever you're trying to do with crypto, you want to get everything set up so it's as easy as it can be. That's the problem everyone has problems with, is like being in a rush, and then it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do when you're not in a rush. So yeah, that's, I definitely recommend the transfers. Some people might have Bitcoin ATMs around them too. I guess that's one thing that I kind of glanced over, they're increasing in amount. So that's one way. And people like that because I think it gets around the KYC laws. There's limited amounts of Bitcoin you can get, but you can get a paper wallet out of a machine by putting your ATM card in it or cash. And vice versa. I think you can sell Bitcoin through them as well. So I haven't seen one of those. I think my buddy was in Las Vegas and he sent me a picture of one. Like, it's, they are growing in number. I imagine there's a lot in California and probably some in Chicago, I would imagine. Yeah. But I haven't seen that yet. So I guess I forgot about that. But going back to, how most people would get it online. Once you buy Bitcoin on one of these exchanges or brokers, there's a little bit of a difference there. A broker like locks in a price. Like Coinbase is a broker, and it locks in a price, and then gives it takes a week, and it they're trading behind the scenes to fill orders, and then once you give them 10 days and they get the best price for that coin, hopefully less than what you paid for it, and then it's in your account. And then at that point, once it is cleared, once your payment from your bank is cleared, and once your payment, if we're using Coinbase in the 10-day, after the 10 days, that Bitcoin is yours now. You can keep it in Coinbase, but again, we talked about they could get hacked. The safest way to keep them is, the safest way is a completely offline paper wallet, which I actually don't really understand that much yet. It's a little more confusing. Not too much more, but basically it's just a password that is printed out with like what are those barcode, the square codes called?
QR code.
Yeah, it's like a QR code that basically is the claim to a spot on the Bitcoin blockchain forever. And that's basically the tech there. But that's not, I don't know. We like a little more user-friendly experience with, to look like other financial websites and stuff that you might use. So I like using a wallet called Exodus, and that is free. And I believe it's open source software. I'm not real sure about that component of it, but it's a free wallet you download, and it's just like an app on your computer. And again, be safe with your passwords and everything like that. But you can send your Bitcoin from Coinbase or wherever you bought it to your Exodus wallet, and it's as easy as sending an email.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is one thing. Like, people are like, it's confused, like people that downplay, like Peter Schiff again, that downplays Bitcoin. He forgot his password, but he was also talking shit about how it takes forever to send it. It's hard to figure out the addresses and all that. It's not. It's a big long string of numbers and letters, but it's no different than an email address, and there's a send and the amount, and that's it. If you could send an email, you can send cryptocurrency. There's no difference. So that's what I recommend, is this free wallet Exodus. In Exodus, you can also, for a little bit of a fee though, you can exchange to any coins you want. You can exchange from Bitcoin to anything else, not anything you want, but they have a ton of different wallets in that wallet that you can keep different coins. So Exodus, once it's in there, is kind of a one-stop shop for most cryptocurrencies. And it's safe to hold. You want to have a computer that doesn't have a lot of viruses on it and stuff like that, because if you had what's it called, a key logger,
Yep.
right? That can if you have if you had a virus on there that could steal your password, when you put your password into Exodus, you're still typing that in. So to go one step further with security, I recommend a hardware wallet called Trezor. There's a couple different companies. I'm sure they're all good. I have a Ledger as well. Ledger has its own wallet software, but what I like about the Trezor is it integrates right into Exodus. And the difference here is your password you have to put in on physical buttons on like a USB device that sticks into your computer. There's no virus that can steal that.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes the free wallet of Exodus, and I think I got my Trezor for $45. So if you get all of that set up before you buy crypto, it costs you $45 basically, because it's nothing to start an account with Coinbase or any of that. And the Exodus wallet is free. And if you want to go the extra step of security, the hardware wallet, is a way to go, but that's a little extra cost. And then I would say if everyone has all that, you're good to go basically,
Mm-hmm.
then I think, the important thing is for people to determine why to really realize, why do you want a crypto? Why do you want to be into crypto? Are you following the buzz or the fad, or, are you investing in long-term alternative to the economy? There's kind of two ways to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we talk about that, because I do want to talk about that, and kind of breaking down both those avenues. But before we talk about that, how much should somebody buy? And also, what does the process of sending and receiving kind of look like? You mentioned that it was a string of numbers and letters, but if you could kind of, I guess, dive into that more for somebody that's trying to do it as they're following along.
Yeah. Okay. So the string of numbers and letters, you have a public key and a private key is the terminology. And the private key is your password. The public key is your address. So you can, if you go into your Exodus wallet, you hit receive, it gives you your public address.
Mm-hmm.
That is that you copy and paste that.
And you put that into your Coinbase account for the send.
Into your, that's what you need to get sent to.
Okay.
And or if someone's like you sold something and they were like, I pay in crypto, that's the address you would give them to send to.
Mm-hmm.
Or donations for your YouTube channel or anything like that. You put that, you go to the wallet you want it to come to, and you click receive, and you copy and paste that string of letters and numbers that it shows. Now, a little disclaimer: I have read that there's some viruses that can take over your copy and paste. So before you click send, make sure the same thing comes up, because there is some virus that can end up replacing all of your copy and paste crypto addresses with their wallet.
Oh, wow.
And then so when you copy and paste it, it pastes their wallet, and you don't check it, and you send it, and it goes off. So that's a good thing with Trezor and Ledger and these hardware wallets, is before it lets you send, it shows the address on the USB device in your hand, and it's verify that this is correct, and you look and make sure it's the same, and then you click send on the device. So they're very virus proof. I mean, maybe that'll change at some point, but so that's how you just send crypto, or that's where you find the address to receive it.
And then how much should somebody buy? I mean, I hear with any investment, not just crypto, but don't invest. What is it? Don't invest anything you can't lose.
Yeah, don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
Yeah,
and I recommend. Well, I recommend going to your boss and saying, hey, can I get paid a portion of my income in Bitcoin? They'll laugh at you and say no. But the more people that do that, the more people it'll get out there. But anyway, that's that's another thing. But I like the feeling of like I turn $100 every week of my paycheck into Bitcoin. So I consider my employer to be paying me in Bitcoin because no matter what the price is, I get paid $100 a week in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That might be tough for other people to do. So if it's $20 a week, if it's $5 a week, all of that is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bitcoin is not, nobody's bought. Well, people are, but nobody listening to this podcast or nobody I know is buying one whole Bitcoin every time they make a purchase. Like
Yeah. That's something that kind of differs from, your typical investments. If you're a big stock market guy and you're listening to this and you're looking to get into something else and, you've been hearing about crypto in the news, there are apps that let you do fractional investing, with stocks, but that is all that crypto is. You could buy any amount that you desire, any amount that you can afford, and watch it grow, watch it fall, but there's no restriction to, you're on E-Trade and you have to buy a full stock of Google or a full stock of Apple. That's not how this works at all.
I mean, and it goes in, I can expand on this too,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as like how much should you buy, my question would be like, how much do you put into your 401k a week?
Yeah.
Do you have a 401k? Like those kind of questions, because I see no reason in my, 4 years of following cryptocurrency. I don't see any reason that anyone should invest any less or any more per paycheck of what goes into their retirement fund, in putting that amount into Bitcoin as well. I have yet to see a reason why that would be a bad idea, as long as you understand that this is a long-term thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference. Is like if you're trying to trade crypto, if you're hoping to get rich on crypto, maybe a weekly minimal purchase, or well, I won't say purchase, I'll say conversion. You're converting dollars into Bitcoin. Maybe if you're like, I need to like hit a lick off this, like if you're like, there's a lot of people that are getting into crypto with dollar signs in their eyes. Yep. Maybe that's not the best idea, but also if you think it is a good idea, you probably should try to watch the market and go big or go home when it's a good time to buy, but I don't consider that investing. You're gambling at that point.
Yeah.
So I guess as far as like how much should I buy, I don't know. That's everyone's different.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's an investment, if it's a retirement investment or a 10 years down the road investment, I recommend weekly buys or whenever you get paid in your paycheck, start budgeting your paycheck if you don't, and determine how much of your paycheck you can invest in something that may go up in smoke. That isn't going to be the end of the world if you lose it or it gets hacked or it ends up not being anything. And that's what they mean by, investing what you can afford to lose.
You just touched on it, but we did bring up the whole two avenues thing, and there are those people that look at it with money signs. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of got into it thinking the same thing. Like, whenever it was 2-3 years ago, probably 3 years ago now, when I first started, it was just money signs, and watching my portfolio grow from 2,000 to 20,000, you couldn't deny the money signs, until it went crashing and burned. But so I want to talk about without going into like utopian futures, but what are the two routes, the short term and the long term? Let's start with the short term first and just kind of play around with the ideas of what the outcomes could be for short term kind of trading.
Yeah. So, okay. when you see an article that like Bitcoin's at $8,300, I think it is right now. Let me look real quick. 83.27. When you see that, okay, so that's the market valuation. That is just traders. Okay, anybody who's buying Bitcoin because they need it will buy it at any price. So if they're buying something off the dark web,
yes,
they're just going to buy how much Bitcoin or how much dollars worth of Bitcoin you need, send that right away. If they are buying it to invest for the future, they're going to buy it every week as a part of their budget, like I just said, just like you would a 401k, because the 401k is the value of that is valued at market value. It's not valued at the people that are investing in it to retire someday. They're not even looking at it. My wife has no idea what her 401k account is at, you know? And so that's the one avenue with Bitcoin is like, I pay attention because it's interesting news of what the price is, but I've paid far more attention to how much Bitcoin I'm accumulating. You know, like I'm, you know, like always texting my buddies, I'm up to this amount, you know, or whatever. Like, but that's buying like 0.00005 at a time, or, you know, trading some alt that like I've been hoping would come back and it wouldn't, and then like just dumping it when it was on a rally and being like, yeah, I got 0.07 Bitcoin out of that at least, or whatever. So you do have to, you know, there's two avenues. Are you in it for the Bitcoin, or are you in it for the dollars? And a lot of people, like you said, in 2017 got in it for the dollars because it was going crazy. And so many people got invested in it. And it was the first thing they ever invested in, the first thing they ever traded, the first, you know, part of the first time they were being a part of the global economy, and everything is this snowball that just ran out of control. And because of the FOMO, the fear of missing out, everybody was buying it because they thought they needed it. Whether it was long-term or whether it was dollars, it doesn't matter. They thought they needed it, so they were buying it at whatever price. That's why it got up to $20,000. But the people developing the code, the people who used to mine it and have thousands of Bitcoins, all of this, or just people that you know are really in it for the utopian future, like I said, they don't care about that price. They don't care about that market price. They hate the website CoinMarketCap. They don't care.
Yeah, it really is, like you said, dollar versus Bitcoin. I think that's a great separation, short term, long term.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong like with being in it for dollars.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
But the problem is if you're in it for the dollars and you rode that ride up and down and you're hoping it goes back up just as quick so you can sell again, everybody's thinking that, which means it's not going to happen that way, you know? And so if you're in it for the dollars, well, not even if you've been in it for the dollars, if you're getting into it for the dollars, you're like, my buddy made a bunch of money off of that. You know, he said it's about to happen again. There's going to be another bull market. I'm going to get in now. It seems like it's at the bottom. Well, you're going to be mistaken. You're not, you didn't learn the psychological lessons and learn the shit about yourself that everyone else did following that. And the market is not going to do the same thing again. Not for the same reasons and not in the same timing. So if you do want to make money, you actually need to teach yourself how to trade, which is a whole different fucking world. But traders, the other avenue of Bitcoin, traders make money whether the price is going up or down, you know? And you have to understand all these charts and technical stuff. And like I watch, YouTube videos about it and I kind of understand it, but I don't really understand. Like I see why it happened after it happened, but I'm not good at like predicting what's going to happen, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's way over my head.
Yeah. But the thing is that the market, because everybody has to buy on the market, you know, the market price is what everybody's buying or selling. And the market is traders versus buyers. because, well, traders versus buyers and sellers, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That traders are doing the contrarian of what the people that don't understand what's going on are doing. And so if you're going to be a trader, well, you want to make damn sure you're on the winning side, right? And you're not going to just get lucky and do that. You really need, a year or two of like learning these charts and stuff like that. But if you do that, it's a volatile, small market with wild swings. If you have the money, the capital to buy one Bitcoin, I mean, you can make $4,000 a week just trading that one Bitcoin back and forth, just on the price that it can go up some weeks and down,
Mm-hmm.
And so 90% of the time, this is what I've noticed. 90% of the time, the traders are in control of the price. And the price swings follow their, it's called TA, technical analysis. They draw these lines and
Oh yeah.
There's the Fibonacci retracement and Elliott waves. And there's all these things that are these theories that came out of the stock market and stock trading, but they're obviously charting human psychology and herd mentality and whatever, because the crypto market follows the same thing. But it's also because 90% of the time the traders are in control and they're all following the same tools. The thing is, all the suckers, all the fish are getting caught up in the net,
Yeah.
And so there's money to be made.
Yeah.
And and so I've heard this and I've fallen victim to this too. After like I didn't sell at the top, I was like, God damn it. I, missed my chance. I was like, well, I'm going to trade my way back up, and then lost my ass in that because I didn't take the time to figure out charts. So I was one of the fish getting caught up in the net,
Yeah. And the, like you did say though, if you do take the time and to educate yourself on that, there is money to be made. But the route that I've taken, and I know you have taken as well, is the long-term approach. And I guess just go over that or what you look at it as comparable to.
Okay. So to use analogy to the 401k,
Mm-hmm.
a 401k is an investment in, well, spread out, not just stocks, but bonds and government bonds, bank bonds, municipal bonds, other dividends, and like all these different investment avenues. But like, and it depends on who's managing your 401k, obviously, but it's an investment in the American stock market and the assets. And so a lot of people, right, are invested just in that and don't pay attention to it. They just put into it weekly. Well, there's also a lot of people that are, we've all seen the scenes on Wall Street where everyone's down on the floor yelling and whatever. Like, those are traders. So they're trading stocks. They're trading bonds. They're buying them because they're low. They follow the same technical analysis, the same charts. It all looks the same terminology. And they're like, all right, I bought 500 shares of pork bellies at $300. At the end of the day, it's going to close at 340. We're going to sell all the shares. And then, and like, that's what they're doing. And it's no different from what's going on with crypto, except, crypto's fat guys behind a computer, or whatever. Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of stocks that are that too, but still, like, if you look at a weekly scale, if you zoom in, if you look at a daily scale or a 4-hour chart or an hour chart or whatever, it's going all over the place. The stock market does that. The swings aren't as much because there's a ton of money in it. It's kind of like a big, heavy ship on the ocean takes a long time to turn, where a jet boat can turn on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
The crypto market is the jet boat. The stock market is the big cruiser, oil tanker or whatever. Well, but if you look at the history of the stock market, even if you take in, the big Wall Street crashes there's been, The trend's up. It started down here. Now it's up here. So if you had a 401k and you've just been putting in $100, just chugging along, by the time you retire or you need the money, it's up from when you put in and when you started putting in. And crypto's done the same thing. People that don't like Bitcoin will always point to it went from $20,000 to $3,000 over the course of a year or a year and a half. Well, zoom out. Don't even zoom out to 10 years because 10 years is when it started at nothing, obviously. Mm-hmm. Zoom out to 5 years. It's up. And so there's these bull run, kind of things that make you think it's going to go up forever. And it's not. There's always going to be this back and forth tug of war from the traders, but it's always going to go up, like it's just, I don't know. That's another universal energy. I think like just how there's always going to be more people on earth. There's always going to be more abundance as well. And I think that financial markets and value and money all follows that same thing. And I think crypto, much like it plays by the same rules of financial markets and charts and all that, it'll follow that as well. It will just always be going up. And so that's why I look at like just, it's called dollar cost averaging, but like just making a purchase of the same dollar amount that you can afford to lose every paycheck, you're just riding that wave up. But you have to have in your mind, like, I'm not going to sell this unless I need it, or at a, set a certain date that, I'm not going to sell any crypto until 2025,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, I think I saw something like in the history of Bitcoin, as long as you gave it 4 years, you doubled your money at least. And some of those 4 years, it's been more. And so like, I don't know, that's the long-term game for that is like, who the fuck am I to like think, oh, well, it's not going to do that. This is the exception to the rule. The one thing people have been trying to hack for 10 years since it came out and they can't hack. And the one thing that's just constantly gone up, no matter how much people say it's not, or it's going to go down, or it did go down or whatever, but it just keeps going and going up. Who am I to say like, well, this is bullshit though. And like, whatever. So like, that's why like, I don't know. Like, I think it's going to keep going up over the large time frame.
Yeah. You touched on people trying to hack it for the past 10 years or however many years. And this is probably something we should have touched on at the beginning, but would you be able to give people listening a general baseline idea of what a Bitcoin is, or what the blockchain is? Why would somebody be trying to hack it? Like, how, you know what I mean? Like, is there any way to explain that in a simplified form?
Yeah. So it's a decentralized network, meaning that there isn't like some server somewhere that like is keeping track of who's got the Bitcoins. The server is broken up. And this idea, decentralized networking started with Napster, to where there wasn't like a server that you were logging into to download an MP3. Everybody had a bit of it. Whoever had it had a piece of that song. And when you downloaded it, it came from everybody. Well, blockchain basically expanded on that, but added like economics into it, and cryptography, and advanced mathematical computing and problem solving and stuff like that. But the decentralized idea is the key. And so it's a ledger it's basically, I mean, I don't know. I guess the best way to describe it is it's a fucking Excel spreadsheet. And I know it's more advanced than that. And I've never
Yeah.
seen, I've never seen what, the back end development of a blockchain looks like, but it's all code, obviously. But it's a ledger that keeps forever every transaction. And there is a Bitcoin is the reward given to a computer that successfully confirms a Bitcoin transaction. And so that confirmation of the computer is done by like completing very hard cryptographic mathematical equations. And it takes a computer a long time to do it. And it, they use video graphics cards for whatever reason. Like I don't understand
power, I think.
I don't understand that technical aspect, but I know that like it's been great for the NVIDIA like graphics card company, because that's what all the miners, which are just computers that are solving these equations, when they solve this equation, it confirms the transaction between two parties, two addresses, and it saves that, the ledger says like this address had 2 Bitcoin and it sent 1 Bitcoin to this address, and now that address has 1 and this has 1. Boom, signed, sealed, delivered. It's on that ledger. And then going forward forever, now every time someone that's on this decentralized network downloads the ledger, it says, hey, this guy's got 1 coin, that guy's got 1 coin. And that can never get changed. And if you try to change it, it has to get confirmed by every other computer that's on the network. And if for whatever reason it seems like it's a fraudulent, if okay, so you can't be like, hey, I got 4, but if it didn't come from anywhere, like you could steal the Bitcoin, but it has to be confirmed from the other side. So you have to like somehow hack their confirmation. You can't just say like the Bitcoin can't be made out of nowhere, I guess is what I'm saying. At some point, every Bitcoin was awarded from a computer that confirmed a transaction. Does that make sense?
Somewhat. Yeah.
Like you can't, like that's the thing, because everyone has a ledger. You can't somehow change the code of the ledger to where like magically you have 10 Bitcoin, even though you only had 1.
Yeah. If
it
ledger,
didn't come from another, if it didn't come from another address, it can't be confirmed.
Yeah.
So that's the double spend thing.
And because everybody has, okay. And also because everybody has a copy of the ledger, if you go saying, hey, this ledger is right, and everybody else has the right one, the correct one, and yours is just the fibbed one, it won't accept that ledger.
Right. The computer will be like, that's invalid. There's insufficient funds.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
that network is essentially the bank. The blockchain is then the bank at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's I don't know how to. Yeah, I mean it's the same. Whatever happens when I write a check and it has to clear, like kind of I guess the same thing's going on. But it's different because you can't see the bank records. You know what I'm saying? So like if someone is cheating, but the bank's cool with it, you don't know.
Yeah.
To where with Bitcoin, if you can understand that, how to look at the ledger and understand that, like you could see every transaction that's ever happened. So like to go back to like Satoshi, right? There was an origin wallet that like that's where the first Bitcoin was. So every Bitcoin that's out there was either a part of that wallet or was created through mining it. And there will never be more than 21 million. Like all of this is written into the code that most of the people, I won't say everybody that is a Bitcoin developer, but most of the people don't want that to change ever. Like, it's very hard to change the rules and the code of Bitcoin, of the network. And so that's why you get these forks when they fork. It's like someone's like, no, I think it should do this. And they just start their own coin. And so that's, that's why we have Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision and all of that stuff. Is those were disagreements in like kind of the way it all works. And the BTC or Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin, whatever, the number one thing that takes up, the lion's share of the market, doesn't want to change. It wants to stick to the way it's been.
So you mentioned Satoshi and also the amount of Bitcoin that is there, indefinitely that won't change. I guess just go into that. Like, who is Satoshi? Why is 0.00001 of a Bitcoin called a Satoshi? And also, what pros does a Bitcoin have up against the US dollar in regards to inflation and deflation?
So
first question is just about Satoshi, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, like I said, maybe some crypto talk won't age well, but Satoshi, nobody knows who it is. It started, maybe, I can't remember, some message board, kind of like 4chan. Maybe it was 4chan. I'm not really sure, but it started with like these like kind of cyberpunk, anti, anarcho-capitalist kind of computer programmer people talking back and forth about how to develop a sovereign digital currency and how to make it, fair, that you can't cheat it, and it's private yet upfront. There's transparency yet private. And a whole host of other goals of what I think. I don't really know the economic theory here, but I guess the global economic theory that they all kind of prescribed to was Austrian economics. So I need to look more into that. I don't really know what that is, but you hear that all the time on podcasts and stuff like that. Like all these like old school Bitcoin guys are like, yeah, well, I really, liked Austrian economic theory and blah, blah, blah. So I don't really know what that is, but I will look that up. And talking about it. And one of them was this screen name Satoshi Nakamoto. And then in 2009, he said, hey, I just wrote this paper and created this code and started it off. It's a peer-to-peer digital currency. Called it Bitcoin. Check it out, and that's where it started. And then I think for at least a year, but maybe a couple years, they went back and forth on this message board with him being active and sending emails and people building on it. And it just grew. And everyone that was talking about it at first became developers of it. And then Satoshi just stopped posting, stopped emailing. And nobody knows who he is. For sure. There was some poor Japanese guy named Satoshi Nakamoto that like they thought was him. And they like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this footage where they were like following him around and he was just this old Japanese guy who was like, leave me alone. I don't know what you're talking about and whatever. And I see a lot of people, will have his picture as their avatar with like Bitcoin logos in his eyes and stuff like that. It's pretty funny. But and so like there's lots of different theories out there. Personally, I think that these guys that were talking on this message board were so smart and knew the power of what they were creating that they knew that they couldn't attach any of their names to it. They couldn't attach any of their faces to it, because at some point it would become such a threat to the Federal Reserve System, to the system that, they were trying to create a deflationary economic system, which, goes up in value over time, to combat the central bank model, which is built around the idea that every year 2% inflation is the goal, meaning that your dollar is worth 2% less every goddamn year that you have it. They knew that they were creating something that could eventually combat that, and that if it got powerful enough, if someone's face was attached to it, if someone's name was attached to it, they would be brought in, and scrutinized by the government, which, if anyone paid attention to what happened when Mark Zuckerberg said, "Hey, I'm creating a cryptocurrency," they brought him in and made him testify and basically shut it down, and he's going to have to go back to the drawing board if he wants to really go through with that. Because there was a face attached to that. And Bitcoin would do the same thing if we knew who Satoshi was. So there's a lot of people that say they know who he is, or think he died even, or anything like that. But I don't think it's one person. I think it's a shared screen name from all those people. Now, there's the gentleman in the news of Mr. Craig Wright. I think you were asking me about him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this guy says that he's Satoshi. And so much so that his business partner, one of the guys, I believe that Craig Wright was actually one of the people on the message board. And then another guy named Jack Kleinman, who has since passed away, was one of those guys on the message board, an early developer and miner of Bitcoin. They're both, like PhD computer scientists. Once, Craig Wright starts saying, "I'm Satoshi Nakamoto, and, I don't like the way Bitcoin's going, so I created this new coin, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision." And that's like, basically, I think his whole thing, he knew he could fork this coin and give himself as many as he wanted. If he says that he's Satoshi, enough people are going to believe him that they're going to buy his coin. And he's going to be sitting there selling it to him. So I think his whole thing was just marketing to, sell some more coins out of nowhere and hold on to his Bitcoin probably. But in his doing that, in his proclaiming he's Satoshi, the argument is that, oh yeah, well, if you're Satoshi, move the coins out of Satoshi's wallet, which is a wallet that has 1 million Bitcoin in it, and it's never been touched. People send coins to it all the time, which is stupid, but so it has more than 1 million in it at this point. But Satoshi said he has the key, the password to it. He has the keys to it, but it's never moved in the entire existence of the blockchain. Well, Craig Wright says that he is Satoshi. He doesn't have the keys to it though, because he has rights to it with this Kleinman guy that passed away. And he said that on January 1st, 2020, a bonded courier was going to deliver the keys to him and he could open it. And when he started saying that, Kleinman's wife was like, "Oh yeah, well then I'm suing you for half, the million Bitcoin or whatever. I'm suing you for these coins then if you're saying you're him and they're yours." So he's been in court, I think in Australia, where he's from. He's been in court, like, it's weird because he's been in court trying to prove that he's Satoshi, but then also prove that he doesn't owe this guy's widow any money. And it's apparently been quite a shit show. You know, I don't know if this guy's delusional or if he's just a complete fraud and he knows that some people are going to believe him. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I don't think he's Satoshi. You know, and I mean, if Satoshi was one person, I think he actually might have known who he was. Maybe it's this guy that died. You know, I don't really know, but I personally think that it's like a made up screen name, and it was kind of a collaborative. Bitcoin itself was a collaborative idea.
I guess we touched on a lot of the beginning principles of, you know, how to get started and how to invest. And we've kind of touched on it in a very, very bright light. And I was just wondering, you know, before we kind of wrap things up, what are the dangers of Bitcoin or investments? Or like you said, you mentioned that, you know, if somebody was to be found to be Satoshi, you know, they'd be in courts immediately. What are the warning signs of, you know, Bitcoin disappearing forever and going to zero and staying at zero?
The warning sign is the technology failing, is someone being able to say, yeah, I've got 1 million Bitcoin now, you know, that they came out of nowhere. That double spend, that can't go away. The double spend protection has to be there. You know, like if someone can cheat and give themselves more Bitcoin than they rightfully should, all of it's nothing overnight. You know, like, I mean, then at that point, it might as well be Fortnite V-Bucks, you know, like I mean, it's nothing then at that point, you know?
Yeah.
As far as the government, I don't know, man, fuck the government. What are they going to do? You know, like think of the history of stuff that's illegal and people still do it, and making Bitcoin illegal, banning it. Like, they made a Bitcoin transaction last year over a goddamn ham radio. Like, you don't even need the internet. I don't understand the technology behind that, but I know they did that. So the government will not catch up. Like, cryptocurrency developers, whether it's Bitcoin or any other crypto, are miles ahead of any fucking policymakers there are. And so if it's outlawed or whatever, it's going to make the price go through the fucking roof. Look at weed, right? You know, something that was black market used to be really expensive. And then now that it's all over the place, it's cheap. So the inverse is true too. You know, like, I mean, if maybe let's look at something that's legal now. If they made it illegal, if they made bullets illegal, guns illegal, they would be so fucking expensive and everyone would still have them. But it would be super expensive. And cryptocurrency is the same way, I feel. Because for the government to do something drastic, like say, United States citizens cannot transact or hold cryptocurrencies. Okay, so everyone's going to get those Trezor wallets, like I said. The price is going to go through the fucking roof. And if you already had the crypto, well, now, like, it's worth a lot, and you're holding in an offline wallet all you need to transact for the rest of your life. And for the government to even get to the point to do that would mean that the economy is doing so shitty that that's like the last like straw. Like, they're like, oh my God, you know, we gotta, this cryptocurrency is destroying financial markets and whatever. We gotta outlaw it. You know, there's no reason for them to outlaw it. All the bills that come up to like regulate it, you know, like they don't understand what the hell it is. Yeah. You know, everyone's trying to put it in a different box. You know, it's treated by the IRS like it's property, but it behaves like a currency, like a Forex trading currency or stock even. You know, the altcoins react like stock, or act like stocks, to where, you know, crypto acts like a commodity or currency. And it's all of those things. It's its own box. And the government will not get that right. They will be far beyond the curve. And so that's, I guess, to wrap everything up. And this is probably longer than we should probably do the monthly CryptoCast. But to go back to like newbies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is why I urge you have to decide whether you're in it to make money or not. And in today's market, to make money, you got to figure out how to trade, how to short and long and all that stuff. Or you have to decide if you're in it for the long term. But either way, you have to get ahead of the curve. Because I don't think the government will ban it. I don't buy into any of that gloom and doom. If anything, I'm more worried about quantum computers changing the game and being able to break the code and double spend and all of that stuff. I'm much more worried about the technology failing than I am the government. And the government at some point, I believe, will use it to prop up the crashing economy. And they will, and at that point, they'll have already, like, you have to be grandfathered in to take advantage of it, because they're going to make it so hard to where you can't even buy and hold crypto yourself. Like, if you don't already have it, you're going to have like, a service do it for you, an investment hedge fund and stuff like that. And so the government is way behind the curve, and that's what I'm just trying to do. Every time I mention cryptocurrency is like, get ahead of the curve. There's only, I heard on a podcast today, there's only 40 million blockchain wallets, not just Bitcoin, like everything. There's only 40 million wallets in the whole world.
That's nothing.
It's nothing. And that number's not going to fucking go down. That is only going to go up. And so, like, I don't know. The crash from 20,000 to 3,000, that's ancient history. And a lot of people have heard of Bitcoin because of that. And they're like, see, I knew it was too good to be true. No, it is too good to be true, because it hasn't even fucking started yet. And so, like, I guess that's, why I feel much like I feel the need to spread the word about awakening and awareness and, holistic life improvement and all that. Like, this is part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
We have to take care of our finances as we improve everything else in our life.
We always say, whenever we come back from an intense trip, that you're always coming back. You're coming back. You're not running away from this. So this is just another one of those tools.
Yeah. And you need to stop being a slave to your paycheck and to your credit card bill and all that. And I just have a good feeling, but I also, it's backed up by years of research at this point. I just have a really good feeling that this is not going to overrun the banks, not going to change, destroy the economy and all these things that people think. It's going to provide a alternative to people that are sick of being enslaved by the system, by the credit and banking system. And it's going to provide an alternative to that. And I think it's going to expand way past the 40 million people that already agree with me, and so, I guess, I'm just, I know a lot of people are like, I don't really care about money or whatever, but it's like, well, you kind of do, I mean, you do, you're just trying to pretend you don't, but like everybody does. So that's why I talk about crypto. It's not a get rich quick scheme. I did think that for a little bit. But it's more just like setting yourself up to be free in the future. And, I don't know if you saw Marshawn Lynch's final press conference after his playoff game, but, to quote him, take care of y'all chicken is what he said to
Oh, God. Yeah. No, I think this was a perfect length. You mentioned maybe we went too long, but for the first version of this, for as much information we tried to pack into this is good. And going forward, I think, we'll be more, I guess, topic and news driven probably, since, it's an ever changing thing, an ever evolving thing. But like you said earlier, if people have questions about this, email us or comment, and we'll get to those. And the landscape of this thing changes month to month. So I think no matter what,
Yeah.
we'll have, a good amount of stuff to cover, even if we don't get anything. But if you are interested in this, and you've heard us talking about it, and, finally this is the moment where it's clicked for you, definitely reach out. Cause, like Ruben says, this is, we find this to be incredibly important for, our future, and the people that we can touch and reach, their future as well.
Yeah. And, it's hard to give advice and whatever, but that's another reason. Yeah. The Discord server, there's a channel, the Crypto Corner, everyone on there will share links and YouTube videos and stuff like that will be a little more instructional with, like, if you need to see on the screen, like, okay, what do I click on?
Mm-hmm.
I know that's hard to do with a podcast, but, the podcast, I think we can kind of wrap up, like you said, the month and stuff. But like like you said, if you reaching out by email, it's even hard for us to like show you what it's going on. But like the Crypto Corner channel on our Discord server is a good place for like, hey, what's the link for that exchange you're talking about, whatever, or what's a good video to watch about how to set up a wallet. Like that's a good thing for us, for our community, to like kind of help bring people into the crypto sphere,
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend getting on the Discord and we'll try to keep doing this every month, and, maybe just kind of wrap up what's been going on in that month and keep it to 45 minutes or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think it's cool. I think no matter what too, even if, this doesn't continue, like, say 6-7 months down the road, I hope it does. But even just trying to do something new with a topic driven episode, I think that's great. And, even that, theme or motif or whatever you want to say of a topic driven episode could be something that goes forward as well.
Yeah. And if anyone has any other suggestions, like I said, hit us up. But
sweet.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there, man. And good talking.
Yep.
As always, thank you for listening to the Help Find the Others podcast. Please don't forget to check out our Discord server to connect with our growing community. The link to join can be found in the description. And if you feel like donating to our channel to help us grow, a link to our Patreon can also be found in the description, as well as some cryptocurrency wallet addresses. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast or have any questions about these topics, please email helpfindtheothers@protonmail.com. If you would like to leave a voicemail or a text message question for a future episode, Stan, what's that number again?
567-233-1335.
Okay, guys, thanks again. And until next time, let's help find the others.